Okay, and welcome to today's cooking session that I'm going to be doing. Today I'm going to be making braġoli, which is also known as beef olives, and I'm going to be showing you how I go through that whole process. So what we have here is some very thinly sliced topside beef, and it's as thin as I possibly can get it. In the UK it's really hard to get thin beef, so I've actually ended up buying a very cheap slicer, and I've cut this myself. So I've got the local butcher's done me a nice topside joint, and I've just sliced the ends off of it to make enough for my braġoli today. So we have topside beef cut as thinly as you possibly can get it. I then have about 500 grams of pork mince, okay, and with that I'm going to add an egg to maybe 2 eggs that have been boiled and diced up there, about the same equivalent of some corned beef, and I've also got some this is smoked bacon that I've diced up, and I've added some parsley with that. So I'm going to add that all together and I'm going to mix that up. I'm also going to add some cheese to this, some grated cheese. I'm going to be using this pecorino. It's got some nice it's got a nice rich flavour to it. So I'm just going to mix all that together, and this is what's going to make the braġoli filling. So just going to mix that all nicely together there. And I'm going to add some of the cheese, and I'm also going to add 1 raw egg just to help bind it all together. I can't tell you the exact measurements because I'm just really doing it by looking, and just sort of, you add as much as you want to these sort of things, I think, and you'll get the feel of it, and once you've kind of got the right idea, you'll be fine there. So just mixing that all together. We want all of that stuff nicely mixed in. I'm going to add a bit more parsley to that because it's not quite enough from what I wanted in there. If I can find the parsley. Again, I haven't got any fresh parsley, so I'm using some of the dried parsley, but I think in a dish like this, fresh or dried, doesn't matter too much because it's all going to be cooked nice and slowly together. That's coming along nicely there. Just going to add a bit of seasoning to it, so just a bit of salt and pepper. I'm just going to add, to be honest, because you've got quite a bit of salt within the things like the corned beef there anyway, so you don't have to add too much to it, but just enough to give it some flavour. A bit of salt, again, it's probably enough. I'm just going to mix that all in there, and then we're going to add 1 raw egg, and again just going to mix that all in together, and that'll just help to bind it for that whole process. So it's really quite a simple recipe. Mix that all together. I'm going to add a bit more cheese. I don't think you could ever add enough cheese, to be honest. There we go. And that's going to make our beef olives, if you like. So now we've got that, the next bit you need some toothpicks, and then we're going to start to fill these bits of beef here. Swap this over so you can see it. So nice healthy dollop of the mixture, and then we're just going to roll this like so, and then I'm just going to use a toothpick just to hold it all together, popping it through like that, and there we have a lovely beef olive there. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to make as many as I can out of this. Like I said, this beef is ever so thin. I've actually sliced it really nicely. You don't want it too thick. So if you do get beef that is a bit thick, if you've got a good butcher, they'll cut it as thin as you possibly can. If you haven't got a machine, but if not, again, you use a meat hammer and just sort of bash it so it gets as thin as possible, and that, so you tenderize it, and then that will that'll help to sort of make it nice, and it'll be nice and tender. Otherwise, what you find is when you come to cook it, the beef becomes a bit tough. So again, just popping the skewer through it, and they're all sort of different shapes, because at the end of the day the meat's different shapes. So again, you just sort of do it and you fill it to the size that you've got, and any leftover mix, sometimes I'll just roll it in a bit of flour, and you can make meatballs out of it. So it's quite a nice option if you start to sort of like think, actually I've got not got enough beef. So again, they're coming along nicely. So I'm just going to pause it now until I've got to the end. So now I'm down to the last little bit here. I'm just going to make the last few there. And as I said, if you've got any of this mixture left over, you can, like I said, sometimes I'll roll it with a bit of flour on the outside, and I'll add it to the actual mix as part of what we have. And then you've got like meatballs as well. So like I said, it's quite a very simple thing, and because I'm using the meat slicer and it's a pain to clean it afterwards, and it does take a bit of time there, I'm making a lot, as you can see, because the rest of these are going to go into the freezer. So I'm going to make some which I'll have for today, and then the rest will go in the freezer, and then I can just get them out when I want to have some in the future, and they're already made, because like I said, it is a bit of a pain. I think that the regulations in the UK make it difficult for meat like this to be sliced, so the butchers just won't do it. Unless if you have got one that does do it, amazing, but I've not managed to find one anywhere local that is prepared to slice beef with the machine. And you really kind of, like I said, you really do need it to be as thin as possible. And as you can see with that, it really is, that's lovely, and it's almost sort of transparent. It's good quality. Like I said, we're gonna just fill this last one, and like I said, some of these will be used today and the rest will be whacked in the freezer. I'll probably have some in a few weeks time, but I've already done the backbone of it, so it's just a case of taking them out, defrosting them, and then making the sauce, which I'm going to go through in a moment. So there you go, that is the beef olives made. Tiny little bit of mince left there, so I might just roll that up. It'll make one, maybe two meatballs, but as you can see there, some lovely beef olives ready for the next stage. So now we're going to make the sauce for the braġoli. So having made all the braġolis there, I'm going to just gently fry them on each side in some oil, just to brown them off. I'm using some garlic oil, so it's just olive oil with a hint of garlic in there, just gives it a little bit of a nicer flavour to it. And we're just going to turn those over. You don't want them to burn, just to brown on each side. Just helps to seal the flavour in them. Always get one that doesn't want to turn over. And then once they're done, they're going to be transferred into the pan which I'm going to be using to cook. Now, I don't like using the gas hob to cook this because it needs a really slow heat for it to be nice and tender and to get the real flavour of the sauce and the braġoli. So I'm going to put them in my Dutch oven, and I'm actually going to put these in the oven and cook on a really slow heat. So it will take a couple of hours to get ready. But as you can see, they've just sort of browned quite nicely. You can see that there. And I'm going to place them in the pot ready to go. They don't have to be, like I said, this is just to help seal in some of the flavour there. So I'm going to pop them on the bottom there. And then I'm going to talk you through the actual sauce itself. And this again, there is lots and lots of different methods. So this is a combination of my aunt's and just a bit of a sort of mixture there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 onions that are chopped. Now I've already slightly fried these just to add to make it a bit quicker in terms of showing you that. So you want the onions to sweat. So 2 onions. I'm using red onions because I haven't got any other onions at the moment. So again, I just want them to sweat. And then I'm going to add, once they get to temperature, I'm going to add some garlic. So about three cloves of garlic, finely chopped. I'm going to add that in there, and that's just going to add to the whole flavour there. I'll put a whole list of the ingredients up on there for you to actually look at. So let's let that garlic cook up a little bit more first. Add a little bit more oil. I love this garlic oil. It's just got enough of a extra flavour to add to it, because I find sometimes the shop bought whole garlics just don't really have a huge amount of flavour in them. So it just helps to add to it. There we go. And then from that I'm going to add a teaspoon of mixed spice and also a teaspoon of curry. And I know this is often again another thing of debate on whether they should be used, but my aunt actually uses Chinese 5 spice, but my wife really doesn't like it, and I think it's a little bit overpowering for this dish. So the mixed spice is good, but each to their own, and I think that's the thing, you can tweak these recipes to suit your own sort of taste. So there we go. Just going to mix that all in there, and then I'm going to add about a good heaped dessert spoon of tomato paste. Going to mix that in there. And then I'm going to add about 150 ml of red wine. Straight away you can smell the combination of all that mixing together quite nicely there. So we have that mixed in like that. And then I'm going to add some passata, so tomato pipe passata there. Just one of those into there. And that'll help give it its tomatoey flavour in the sauce there. It's got some lumps of tomato in there as well, so it's all good. Just going to let that mix together, and then I'm going to add about 300 ml of water. And the water again and the levels of this just depends a bit upon your mix and how you're doing this. So again, I'm going to add that, and you might need to add a bit more. Just be very careful, especially if you're cooking it the way I am, because if you're cooking it on the hob with the lid off, you will watch the liquid sort of reduce, because you want it to be a sauce, not a runny liquid like it is currently. And this will thicken over time. So as it's cooking, it will thicken up a little bit anyway as you naturally lose it. But in the Dutch oven, less so, because you're keeping all the moisture in there. So for the last part of it, you might just want to sort of take the lid off and put it on the hob just to reduce some of that. But you can do things. Some people add a bit of gravy granules just to thicken it up. Some people actually will roll their braġoli in flour before they pan fry it, and that again helps just to thicken the sauce up in its whole process. That's coming together quite nicely there, and already it's making me hungry because that smell is divine. So I'm going to add a couple of bay leaves. To get another one now, just drop that on the floor. So again, just a couple of bay leaves, just to add to the flavour. You have to remember to take these out at the end. Could add an extra little one there just for good luck. And again, that's all going to go in there. And then I'm going to add some chopped carrots and some potatoes, and I think also the starch from the potatoes as they're cooking in there helps to also sort of thicken up the sort of like the sauce as well. So I've prepared the potatoes already, but I'll put them in water so they don't brown. I'm just going to drain them off, because this is a dish that you can have in several different ways. Some will have the potato, the braġoli with spaghetti, the sauce with spaghetti, maybe one or two braġolis, and then others will do it with in a more sort of they'll have the spaghetti and pasta, and then they'll have the meat and some veg as a sort of separate dish, so almost sort of two meals if you like. And I'm going to add the chopped carrots into there as well, so that's just all going to go in there like that. And I'm not worried that I've not added them to the sauce yet, because this is going to cook for a really slow process. So I'm going to be putting it on, for me I'm using a gas oven, so it's going to go on gas mark sort of 2, probably for at least a good 1.5, maybe 2, possibly even longer, sort of 3 hours, just to really slowly cook. So now that sauce has come together really, really nicely. Just going to add a bit of salt and pepper. As I nearly forgot to add that. And then the last thing that I'm going to add, which I'm not going to do at this point here, and this goes in before, is I've got some marrowfat peas. I'm going to add the peas towards the end. I don't want them to go in now, otherwise they'll just disintegrate within the sort of sauce there. So I'll add them sort of 3/4 of the way through the whole cooking process. So that's a really nice rich sauce now, come together really, really nicely. And it doesn't really matter, I don't think, which way you do the ingredients together, but it's once you've got that all there, that just goes over the sauce. The sauce just goes over the braġoli. And like I said, that's then going to go in the oven. And that will just gently cook away. Now I'm going to add just a little bit more liquid to that, because it's not quite enough on there for my liking. And I'm going to heat up the pan first, just to get it to temperature, just to get the heat going there, and then that will then cook in there. So I'm just going to add a little bit more liquid. There we go, so it's all just at the right there. And that is just going to simmer away. In fact, it's going to simmer away in the oven there, and all those flavours will come together very, very nicely. Hopefully it will taste as good as it smells already, because it's already making that lovely aroma that I always associate whenever I visit my family in Malta. There's that smell when you go into the kitchen of the cooking, which I find divine. So hopefully that's been helpful in giving you a bit of insight on how to do the sauce along with the actual beef olives as well. Hopefully you'll go on and have a go yourselves and make this delicious meal. So thank you.